Hello from Last Chance Gulch, Helena, Montana's historic district. A little bit of information about that. This is where a group of miners who were out of provisions and basically desperate threw a Hail Mary as they swung through this area on, I believe it's July 14th, 1864. They found what they call color, meaning gold, and soon other miners trickled in, a few at a time. They panned, they sluiced, and they hastily built shelters on their claims. So needless to say, there was a great frenzy to get at gold. Miners soon did what miners do, stripped the area of everything green. They churned up the soil, and they built their buildings right around here in Last Chance Gulch, or it was around something called Last Chance Stream. It wasn't called Last Chance Gulch just yet. We will get to the news of the day, or really thought-provoking stuff of the day. But the mining camp here became known as Last Chance. Soon there was some discussion. They called the settlement Helena after a place in Montana, in Scotts County, Minnesota, where one of the miners lived. And this place did very well. You'll see a statue behind me. Produced $19 million worth of gold in just its first 4 years. That was a lot of money back then. Of course, only so much gold lies near the surface. So they were finished soon. The landscape was dramatically changed, and they had to clean it up, but there were pressure hoses which did that, and it quickly became into a very nice area. The city rose. It's been the capital, Helena, of Montana Territory since 1875, and the state of Montana since 1889. But it was very rich. As of 1888, Helena's it had very nice architecture on a cosmopolitan feel, and it had the nickname the City of the Rockies. Let me move myself off this now. I didn't mean to give you the middle finger there. And let's walk up Last Chance Gulch. Let me not block the picture. And we'll talk about some of the good stuff out there, thought-provoking, that is worth your time. As I often say, there's so much information out there. You could spend so much of your time looking at it. You'd never get done. You'd never get to sleep. But I try to do my best, and I'll get better at this as time goes on, to bring you the most worthwhile out there. But first, let me set the table with a commentary from Robert Avnet, who I mention often. He writes good stuff. Never met him in person. Facebook friend. And he has what I think is a common reaction to the Republican health care plan. He's a fellow Republican. He writes, "So many people, including myself, get so frustrated with the Republicans. Look at this. A proposed health care bill," look at that, by the way, a mural, "and they're fighting among each other." Robert Avnet writes, "I see so many liberal posts making fun of that. It's frustrating, but this is how it's supposed to be done in our republic. This is why we have a republic. People doing what is best for their state. People doing what is best for their state. It is the complete opposite," he mentions, "of what the Democrats did. Write a bill and everyone votes for it like a robot." Now, there's a website I think I'm mentioning for the first time in one of these. I do read it. I tell myself I should read it sometimes. I don't read it as carefully and as timely as I should, but it's called market-ticker.org, market-ticker.org, as you see that mural. I'll let you look at that for a while. It's totally incongruous from what I'm talking about, but we'll let you see it anyway. But market-ticker.org, it's written by a guy named Carl Denninger, who's mentioned a lot by Ann Barnhart. I love her stuff. Barnhart.biz, BARNHARDT.biz. That's not for the faint of heart, by the way. But here's what Carl Denninger writes, and he writes about healthcare a lot. It's really an area of expertise for him. It's called, I forget what it's called. I didn't give myself the title here. But it's his most recent post. And he starts out by saying, "So it's out." Well, at least sort of out. Let me point out a few things about this bill, at least as far as I can determine from reading and cross-referencing it. Denninger writes, "It does not repeal the so-called penalty. It instead moves it to the back end. If you don't have insurance by choice and then buy it, you get hammered with a 30% penalty for a year. For most people, that's far more than the ACA penalty for not having insurance. It could easily be $3,000 or more. This is outright fraud on the part of the GOP, which said it was repealing the penalty. Paul Ryan, Donald Trump, and the rest are all bleeping liars. Medicaid expansion is essentially ended, and cost pickup for the states is capped to CPI-U's Medical Expenditures Inflation Index on a forward basis. This will detonate state budgets within about 10 years. As the current spend is expanding at 9% a year, but the CPI-U index is less than half that. It does not repeal the prohibition on discrimination in price or denial for pre-existing conditions, but it does increase the multiplier for age 5 from 3. Denninger goes on and points out that this is not a repeal of the ACA, not even close. Isn't this incongruous? By the way, yeah, I know. But I'm having fun doing it, and it's something to look at. I'm not at a green screen and just pretending to have a fake Citibank background. I really am here. As we continue to walk through Last Chance Gulch here in Helena, Montana, the historic district. But going on, Denninger writes, it is not a repeal of the ACA, not even close. The vast majority of the ACA remains intact. The mandate is gone, but the penalty remains, just shifted to the backside, and for many will be far worse than the penalty would have been. The restriction on what plans you can sell is gone. Subsidies are cut, indexed only to age and paid to HSAs instead of directly to insurers. It does repeal many of the add-on taxes that paid for the program previously as well. Repeal and replace, more like, hide the kids now, more like bend over, grab your ankles, and bite down on a big stick so you don't chomp your tongue off. And he has some criticism for the media. He says, when it comes to the media, and I'm skipping around here, by the way, got to go to the website, market-ticker.org, and look at it. But he says, when it comes to the media and their lead-in to the bill, you have pieces like this. He gives a link to a particular piece by someone I haven't heard of, which sounds awfully good when you read them until you realize there's exactly zero being said about the how. Remember, it's who, what, when, where, why, and how, sometimes starting as with what. Going a little further, he calls out the not bill for having not one word about antitrust, collusion, or any of the other practices that make medical care so damn expensive. Never mind that many of these practices and collusive acts were ruled illegal in 1979 by the Supreme Court. Yet those laws are not enforced and the colluding parties are not indicted, prosecuted, or broken up. Then Denninger includes a lament from a physician, as we see, I guess, a class going to the library, maybe? There's a library over there. I think it's an old historic building, maybe? Maybe that's a newer one, but there is a historic library here. I know it's incongruous, but we have fun doing it this way. No fake news here. Continuing with what Carl Denninger writes. Republicans ran on a platform of repealing and replacing a failing Obamacare system. Actually, I'm going to repeat that. I think it's important. Republicans ran on a platform of repealing and replacing a failing Obamacare system. Final paragraph that I'm going to include, again, go read the whole piece at market-ticker.org. He writes, Democrats touted Obamacare as an overwhelming success. Neither party has really addressed the issues surrounding the law. Patients are experiencing higher costs, diminished access, and poorer quality care. Then he has some, he goes on with what this doctor writes in his lament, and Denninger goes into a lot more detail about the how, what needs to be done. He does, actually, I want to leave this. He kind of criticizes the physician for saying, well, nothing's preventing him from charging less. Maybe there is, but I want to include this one more point by Carl Denninger. There are only two possibilities. This physician is part of the scam voluntarily, or he is being forced involuntarily. I imagine it's the latter. He's either a protagonist and thus willingly engaged in the offense, or he's a victim of it. So last time I'm going to mention it, go to Carl Denninger's marketticker.org, and there is a hyphen between market and ticker. Now, not entirely unrelated, I'm going to put myself on camera here. Me in a good view of Last Chance Gulch here. Not entirely unrelated is something Scott Adams, who's the creator of Dilbert, has a great blog, which is essential reading, and I'm making a point to read lately. He talks about the whole concept of free college and the technology that's involved. today. This is something I've thought of on my own a few times. Just, college has changed and it's so anachronistic, and we hear about the social justice warriors. And I took a bar exam a few years ago, and I was amazed, because I'm not that young, and it was the first one I had taken for a while, at how easy it was to do with Kaplan Online, and that just sort of got my head rolling about all the possibilities for online education. But let's get to what Scott Adams' blog, what Scott Adams says on his blog. He starts off by saying, at the moment, the in-person college experience is superior to taking classes online. Today, online teaching is mostly simple videos of people talking and pointing at things. But that advantage of in-person college or over online classes won't last forever. The in-person experience will stay largely as it is. I apologize for the wind, but imagine what those miners went through. But online lessons will evolve indefinitely toward better techniques, more content, and more scientifically proven methods. Best practices will propagate quickly online. Only 3 things are missing to make this vision of universal free online college a reality. 1, you need an open online platform on which anyone can post a lesson plan and anyone else can use it or improve it. 2, you need a law that says copyrights are suspended for the online education platform only, so anyone can copy and improve the work that came before. 3, you need some form of accreditation. Skipping forward, he writes that a physical college is largely limited to using the professors it has, but an online system such as, he mentions, WenHub, I don't know them, can improve forever. It isn't even a fair contest in the long run. So that's something to think about. I really would love, obviously not that many people are watching quite yet, but it would be great if we provoked some discussion here. And just like I like any suggestions you have, or people who want to write things or turn me on to things I should cover. One more thing right now, I just want to, Keith Levenberg, I mention him all the time. In fact, he's the one who got me turned on to Scott Adams' blog. But he has something funny he sent me yesterday about Miguel Estrada, who was in the Bush, what was he, Solicitor General under Bush? He made a comment as to why he would never be, or no, wasn't he? He was nominated for DC Circuit Court, I believe, and he got rejected because they gave him a really hard time in the Senate. I should have known that. I should know that better. But anyhow, this is from law.com. Gibson, Dunn, and Crutcher partner Miguel Estrada on Wednesday knocked down suggestions, this must have been last Wednesday, that he was in the running to be the next U.S. Solicitor General, citing the deterioration of the confirmation process through the years. In a statement emailed to the National Law Journal, Estrada said, "I would never accept a job that requires Senate confirmation, or for that matter, willingly place myself in any situation, e.g. a hearing room, in which convention requires," get this, I love this part, "that I be civil to Chuck Schumer." Estrada was responding to an NLJ article Tuesday describing him as a top candidate. Several well-positioned Republican lawyers said privately in recent weeks that Estrada was a top possible nominee for the position as Solicitor General. White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer was asked last week specifically about Estrada, who served as an assistant Solicitor General in the 90s, so I wasn't that far off. And here is Estrada's full statement. "I was immensely lucky to have the chance to serve our country years ago, but it did not work out. I have only respect and best wishes for those who agree to serve despite the deterioration of the confirmation process over the years." That's the key phrase here. "But everyone who knows me in this town knows that I would never accept a job that requires Senate confirmation, or, as I said before, for that matter, willingly place myself in any situation, e.g. a hearing room, in which convention requires that I be civil to Chuck Schumer." That's all I got for now. Bad. Okay, yep, I think I turned it upside down. Let's turn this around and give you a last chance to look at Last Chance Gulch and the surrounding area. I'll walk around a little bit so you can see how pretty it is here in Montana. Appreciate your suggestions. I'll try to do a sunset report. Yeah, I'm trying to perfect this a little bit. I have a long way to go, but technology has made so much possible, and I'm committed to making this good. And yeah, hopefully you'll keep watching as I get better at this and make it even more compelling. All right, I'll check in at sunset here in Montana. Thanks for watching.